how much psychonauting or how much psychedelic experience had you had before you underwent the DMTx trial?
So I'd had quite a lot, and actually all of us who were on that stage of the trial were fairly experienced, and that was kind of the point. Maybe 40 or 50 ayahuasca journeys and mushroom experiences and LSD experiences. So DMT extended state is basically, as you mentioned, it's being injected with DMT intravenously. You're injected for 30 minutes and then the trip lasts 40 minutes because it's once they stop injecting, you're still full of DMT and then your body is processing it. I was one of, I think there were 9 of us. I think there were 11 and then a few people dropped out. So it ended up being 9 people who were the dose finding trial. So we were like the guinea pigs for the guinea pigs. And they wanted people who had a fair amount of psychedelic experience to be able to report back on clearly on, well, what they were actually looking for was to bring us up into a peak experience and then plateau. So keep us in the peak for as long as possible, which they did really manage to do by the end. But so each dosing was progressively stronger, done differently. So it would be, there's something called a bolus. They inject more of the drug first to kind of push you over a threshold, and then they maintain a certain amount. So there was I didn't obviously see what they were doing with the pump, because as soon as it comes in, you feel this like cold sensation. And within 2 or 3 seconds, it felt like a few heartbeats instantly in the peak. Well, yeah, pretty much. It was almost like being in the peak of an ayahuasca experience within a few seconds. It's so extreme. It's such a, you go from waking consciousness to a really intense psychedelic experience within seconds. And usually with a psychedelic, unless you're smoking DMT, which is probably the closest analog. Well, I mean, it's almost exactly the same, except that the injection is stronger and comes on faster. So I was quite experienced going into it.
I can imagine that after your extreme DMT experience and also other psychedelic experiences, you have some theories around what you think the mind is, like this thing that we call the mind, and how that is or isn't informing what we think of as reality. So I'm just curious to know, like, where are you at with that now? I know it's been like many years since you released that book, and you've kind of like you're exploring things outside of the psychedelic space now. But yeah, where are you at with like the nature of reality and like what the mind is and what the hell this whole thing is?
What's going on?
Yeah.
Yeah, good question. I move around with this question. It's like the biggest question. Okay, so nature of mind. This is a position I've held for a while, and then I think the DMT trial brought the question up again, and writing the book also brought the question up again, because wanted to explain to a wider audience the broad strokes philosophically of this question. And so on the one hand, you have idealists, philosophical idealists like Bernardo Kastrup and George Berkeley, who was in the university I went to, Trinity College Dublin. He went there, and so and I did philosophy as well, and so he was like, we did lots of him basically because he was local. And that's the idea that fundamentally what's real is consciousness, is mind. Mind is what's real. The kind of experiencing is what's real, and matter, like the screwdriver. I don't know. I have a screwdriver. I did some flat pack. That's why there's a screwdriver on my desk. But
Good for you.
yeah, no, here we go. But this is fundamentally not of a primary reality. It's secondary in the sense that I'm having an experience of it. But what's real, what's primary, is my experience of the screwdriver and the experience of hardness, etc. It doesn't exist independently of mind. So that is not the dominant view in the West, and hasn't been for the last 400 or so years. The dominant view is that what's primary is matter, and my experience of the screwdriver is secondary. And it's because my brain is made of matter. And so this whole experience is just kind of an illusion created by the stuff, physical matter. And then there's Panpsychism, which argues that actually mind and matter are the same substance. And that's kind of where I sit. I'm a panpsychist. I'm like, consciousness and matter are indistinguishable. They are kind of mutually arising. And you can't really talk about, like, for example, if I had if my brain just shut off right now, I couldn't be having the conversation with you. So there is a relationship between the matter and the consciousness, but I also don't think my brain is generating consciousness. I think consciousness is a fundamental aspect of reality, and that the brain is more a receiver of consciousness, and that maybe any sufficiently complex system can order and structure the consciousness that is ever present in reality. So that means that yeah, that's where I sit on it. I've definitely, like, the position of the only thing that's real is matter, I think, is fundamentally the source of the crises we're facing as a species. Like that, I think that misunderstanding of the nature of experience, of being a human being, is fundamental, because what it does is it means that we value the quantity of things, what can be measured, over the quality of things, what can be felt and experienced. And nobody actually lives like that. Like, nobody thinks that their child's life has a quantitative value, right?
Mm.
Insurance companies do, because
Mm.
that's right. But actual human beings don't do that. And when people are on their deathbeds, the most consistent thing that they say, according to some studies on this, is, I wish I had lived my life the way I wanted to live it rather than what other people wanted me to do. Or I
Mm.
wish I'd spent more time with my loved ones. I wish I'd spent more time. Just what they regret is not having a depth of experience of themselves and of other people, because they adhered to somebody else's ideas. So that also ties into it, because actually, if we orient towards quality, what it's like to be you, then it's a very different way of valuing uh, anything, right? So that's the fundamental shift that I think needs to happen, before anything else is going to change significantly.
Mm. And so connect that to the DMT or the psychedelic experiences. Like, why is it that that theory feels truest for what it's like to be you?
Well, I mean, so if you go at it from the other side, that everything is just matter, then when you have a deep experience on a psychedelic, or you encounter an entity, the only thing that the hardcore materialist neuroscientist can say is, that's just your brain on drugs. That's just a kind of illusion of that the entities are just your brain trying to make sense of chaos through creating kind of familiar kind of structures,
Mhm.
um, which they're not familiar at all. They're really alien and strange. Um, so there's that. And so it just doesn't feel like there's not a lot you can do with that in terms of exploration or growth, because you're just like, oh, it's just like a video game. None of it's real. And I don't think that that is true. And also, what it asks you to do is say that your lived experience is less real than what is being measured. And what's ironic is that most of what comes out of psychedelic research, unless it's brain scans, and even those, recently suggested that those might all be erroneous, because that's not actually the main mechanism. I won't get into that right now, but is that they give you a questionnaire after these experiences. After the DMT, after we came out of the DMT, about 10 minutes later, we would get an iPad with like a scale that said, like, from 0 to 10, how much did your
Satisfied or
ego dissolve?
unsatisfied?
Yeah, it was like that. It's like, and you're just like, oh, and you're just like, oh, from 0 to 10, how much did you feel you were connected to the universe, literally? And you're just like, and so that is the data they're using. So they're using my experience, my qualitative experience, and then they're quantifying that to then come to truth claims. Now, there's nothing wrong with quantifying qualitative experience, but what's the error, in my view, is going, oh, the quantity, the numbers, and the stats that we can get out of that is more real than the quality of your experience, because they came from an experience that I had. And they
Mm.
don't know how to go, oh, well, we saw this in the EEG, scan. That must have been that he was experiencing a mantis. No, they just
A
see,
chinchilla.
yeah, there's, or in my case, hyperdimensional chinchillas. They don't know that. They just see a change of some sort, if they even do.
I mean, that's the thing with science, though, right? Is like it's got to just throw shit at the wall and see what sticks. Like, I think it's hard to do experiments on these things, and
Yeah.
maybe we need to have different scientists or more interdisciplinary collaboration. But yeah, like that's the hard problem really of consciousness, right? Is that you can pull the brain apart and find the neuronal correlates for the color red, but like you don't actually find the color red.
Yeah.
And so the experience of the color red remains this mystical thing. As you were talking, I was thinking about, you mentioned a lot like entities were a big part of your experience on the extended DMT. And I think it's Terrence McKenna has the taxonomy for DMT entities. I don't know if you've heard of this, but he has like 3 options for what these entities can be. One, they're these like semi-physical but elusive sort of beings, you know, so they exist here, but we don't see them, like Bigfoot or the Yeti or the
Yeah.
unicorn or whatever. And then 2 is like the mentalist reductionist version, which is that they are projections of our unconscious. And that might
Mm.
be, when you talk about being in an altered state, that might be a place where we can actually like pull out what's in the unconscious, like that, and dreams, because I guess sleep is an altered state as well. Or like his third one is that they are non-physical but autonomous beings. So those hypersonic chinchillas, hyperdimensional chinchillas that you encountered with, might actually be real. Like they might exist somewhere else and like have their own sovereignty, and through the drugs, like we tap into that. What do you think it is? And like, I mean, your answer to this question can also be like, it's not important to know which one of those it is.
Where I'm at with it is that they are, in a sense, semi-autonomous or autonomous, and that they exist in, let's say, a realm of mind that we're not usually connected to, or in some indigenous psychedelic using cultures in South America, that the idea of reality is quite different to ours in terms of it's based on perspectivism, which is like, it's kind of what you named, and it's similar in, you know, I'm half Irish, and in Celtic mythology you get this as well, that there are entities all around us all the time. It's just that we don't see them because our perspective is tuned into the wrong wavelength, let's say. But
Mm-hmm.
by drinking ayahuasca or tobacco or whatever other experience, or tuning in a particular way, then we are able to see what was there already. So what are the entities? I think they are independent of our perception of them, but I think the form they take is not. And, you know, my friend Dave
Mm.
Luke, who is a parapsychology professor at the University of Greenwich, he's done lots of interesting work on this, and people should check it out. But one of the things he points out is that when people saw UFOs in the 1950s, the spacecraft had nuts and bolts on them, like our technology. And then as our technology became slicker and different, now the UFOs are like chrome and sleek and kind of very different. So that's really interesting, right?
Mm-hmm.
But we have this, and Graham Hancock wrote a book called Supernatural, where he dives into this as well, about like the idea of encountering beings and entities is as old as time and happens all around the world and in many, many cultures. And here in Ireland, it would have been, you know, fairy encounters, where, you know, people would encounter these little people wearing old timey clothing. It's always really
Mm.
interesting. It's always like, they're always kind of like somewhat familiar, but wrong. You know, they're too small, they're wearing the wrong clothes, and they're kind of alien, and they're different entities. That, you know, people really, there's fairy knolls in Ireland that that have been around for thousands of years, and people, you know, in a country that is becoming more and more secular and was, you know, very, very Catholic for a long time, still to this day, people will kind of laugh about it, be like, oh yeah, up there's the fairy knoll up there, yeah, I wouldn't go there at dusk. And they'll be kind of laughing about it, but they won't go at dusk.
Mm.
It's like you don't mess around with it, and I find that amazing and beautiful. There's the kind of power to these understandings.
Where can people find your work if they want to follow you and keep an eye out for this Substack series?
Yeah, so probably the best place is Instagram, just Alexander _Beiner. So because I update on there when I have a new piece out on Substack. My
Mhm.
Substack is the place I post most. That's Kainos is my creative studio and media platform, Kinos. But just Beiner.substack.com as well, and then people can dive into the really weird world of AI religion. It is actually really fascinating what's going on. Yeah.
Cool. Well, thank you so much for coming on the show. I appreciate your time.
Thanks, Paige. It was a lot of fun.